endomorphin glandular secretive organs. You wouldn't think of draining your pineal gland recklessly, or your throat chakra, the thyroid glandular, but we don't think too much about the precious quality of our hormonal system associated with the root chakra. It seems like, when you think about it, athletes are encouraged not to indulge in sexual relationships before any of their competitive events. Scholars take time out from intimacy and sexual activity in order to heighten their creativity. Yet in our culture, it encourages somehow that the more the better. And in some ways, there is joy and bliss, for it takes you out of egotism and singularity into polarization and coming together with another entity and growing together. But there are so many different pathways that one can take as far as the language of intimacy is concerned. Tantra, the sacred science of sexuality that has been practiced like forever, originating initially by initiates and mystics, experimenting and finding ways that you can have that cocktail of bliss without also the price of accelerated aging, so that the body's inner hormones were now kept. With male, it's through ejaculation. You lose millions of sperms that are so important for all the neurological functioning of your system, the heightened mentality, the regeneration, the stem cell production. With the female, it's the menstrual flow. Both are hormonal outpours. Both are not necessary. Without, at the same time, no sacrifice is required as far as the pleasure centers are concerned. I've done a research study over 30 years ago. We had 60 ladies from ages between 20 and about 45. They were all non-menstruating ladies. They tested their basal thermometer with basal temperature with thermometer and muco discharge on a monthly basis to see if they were fertile. All were fertile. One, matter of fact, got pregnant during that period of the 9-month experiment. Menstruation and ovulation are not related. Menstruation is a condition of failure to reabsorb completely the endometrium as it's going through after it has served its purpose for acting as an earth for growth of the plant of a human potential fetus. When it fails conception, when there is no conception, it's reabsorbed. And depending on the condition of the endometrium, if there's a lot of there is a tremendous amount of mucoacid capillary fragility, cleavages and hemorrhaging takes place. The stronger and the healthier the woman is, the more of the absorption takes place. In a totally healthy individual, there is no loss. Just as well with the male. The intercourse can be a source of enjoyment. Playing the harp by taking the energy from your genitals and moving into the solar plexus and feeling your energy and power and taking it to the heart and feeling this unconditional love and then outpouring of creativity that finally this energy has gone this far and losing into that at one minute. So it's a sacred place where our pleasure of being human and at the same time transcending our humanness and entering into divinity is potentially within the relationship complex. Nothing accelerates more rapidly the growth of an individual than an intimate relationship with another person. Most of the fuel systems, the sexual energy has diminished to the point where the combination of not only the processed foods, where the fragmentation of the food, Mercola says 95% of food eaten outside of home, and Hooks says what is eaten at most homes, is processed. It's leading to where Viagra has become the #1 recreational drug among high school kids. They can't get it up. Electrovoltage on this acidic dietary approach is not creating that staff of life. Take a look at animals in the wilderness, in a life form, in nature. They continue to be very alive, very intimate with one another, onwards into what we call maturity, and at the same time in ageless bodies. You can go to Vilcabamba, Ecuador. Thousands of men and women, ages in their hundreds of years of age, are still having love affairs, romances. Whole foods, physical activity, nature, breathing fresh air. The power of regeneration that is possible for anybody. It comes down to nutrition, comes down to also your lifestyle, also your psychology. Nutritionally, one of my good friends, I'm not sure anymore if he's still with us, Noel Johnson, he was going downhill rapidly, had no reason to live. His wife passed away from a heart attack. For excitement, he was channel surfing and jogging between his freezer and microwave oven, and just sedatively becoming more and more unconscious. His children saw that he was moving into old age home rapidly, and they thought they would do some shopping with him. What he saw there was, he said, I'd rather be dead than to be with those dudes. So he tried exercising. He was at one time an amateur athlete. Walking was painful and difficult. However, he tried, and he kept trying, and he kept trying. Eventually the pain became less and less. And one day he walked past a place, a business that read health food. Well, he looked at all the people that were going in. This is 45 years ago. He thought he was going in, misread that, or he thought he was going into health foods, because they all looked sick and faggot entirely and, you know, wasted. But he went in. And he found literature and started studying. Eventually, he went through many changes. He found also the book, Survival in the 21st Century. And it became his orientation toward life. I ended up hearing about him, and we ended up finally meeting up. By that time, he had written a book called Died at 70, Stud at 80. Rejuvenation is very possible at any age. In his 90s, he was still doing marathons and boxing, 3-round box matches, beating on points on his overall agility and mindfulness and concentration. What was his fueling was grazing. He ate very little, and he ate only when hungry and when the stomach was empty, to feel the nourishment, and at the same time the body was going into all kind of detoxification, continued ongoing cleansing. He went through a lot of changes. Another dear friend of mine, and I'll be visiting, it's been like over 20 years since I've seen him, Bennett Lucian. He lives in Santa Cruz.